The honourable member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
I come to you today from the traditional territories of the Snuneymuxw First Nations. Jocelyn is a constituent in my riding of Nanaimo Ladysmith. She is the proud mother of 2 young children, ages 3 and 4. She holds a university education and a strong desire to remain engaged and connected in our community. Unfortunately, Jocelyn was in multiple accidents, leaving her permanently disabled and unable to work. Even though she is currently getting a deal on her unaffordable and overpriced rental, she is left with just $500 a month after her rent is paid to meet her family's needs. Jocelyn said to me that all she was looking for was the certainty that her children would have food on the table and a place to call home. In addition to Jocelyn being unable to make ends meet, she is also unable to afford the medications prescribed by her doctor to help her with the physical symptoms from her accidents. $100 a month is what it would cost for the medications that could significantly improve her quality of life. For Jocelyn, $100 a month is well outside her means with her limited income. Instead, she had to find medication that was less costly and unfortunately also less effective in alleviating her symptoms. This is a vicious cycle that too many Canadians find themselves in. When Jocelyn recently told me about her experience, she described it as systemic violence, one where most Canadians are living paycheck to paycheck and are stuck in a vicious cycle of poverty. While many people struggle in the system, our richest and large corporations earn record profits. As we continue to debate this motion today, I hope members of this House will keep Jocelyn and others like her in mind. We must do better to make sure that Canadians have access to the basic supports they need. That starts by ensuring everyone is paying their fair share. In our country, where we praise ourselves for taking care of each other, for our high quality of life, how is it that we are seeing many like Jocelyn, who despite hard work and perseverance are still unable to have the basics, a home, food, medications? These aren't luxuries. These are basic human rights. Too many in my riding are struggling to make ends meet. The pandemic has only amplified a crisis that was growing for years. The last Nanaimo Foundation's Vital Signs report, for example, from 2019, showed a worrisome trend of an increase in the number of seniors struggling to make ends meet. We know this trend has only increased throughout the pandemic. We are seeing more seniors becoming homeless or on the edge of homelessness, unable to pay their bills or to keep food in their fridges. This is heartbreaking to see seniors who have worked tirelessly to age with dignity to be left with little hope of even having the basics like a place to call home. Child poverty rates also continue to increase in Nanaimo Ladysmith. Children are being left to suffer while large, wealthy corporations make more now than ever. This is shameful, Mr. Speaker. I ask my colleagues to take a moment to consider not only the immediate consequences, but the long-term implications of the increasing number of children being left to struggle in poverty. We are showing our children through our actions how to treat one another. Mr. Speaker, Liberals and Conservatives tell Canadians that they're looking out for them. But we've seen countless times that that's only true if it doesn't cut into the profits of their corporate friends. By supporting this motion, they can show that they are ready to live up to their promises to Canadians. Today, they can help make sure that companies who have been squeezing Canadians at the pumps or at the grocery store are supporting the public services people need. As just one example, last year, Scotiabank made a net profit of over $10 billion. After jacking up fees for customers throughout the pandemic, they paid out over $4 billion in dividends to their wealthy shareholders. The same applies to many large grocery store chains, seeing profits like never before, while the price paid by hardworking Canadians for groceries continues to increase. While corporations raised their prices through the pandemic, wages have remained stagnant. It's a broken system, and it is only getting worse under this Liberal government. Madam Speaker, instead of following through with his most recent election campaign promise of raising taxes on the most profitable big banks and insurance companies, the Prime Minister continues to make life easier for the wealthiest and largest corporations. On this side of the House, we know that this surtax can't come quickly enough. It is also vital that Canada goes beyond just banking and insurance and extends this surtax to oil companies and large grocery store chains with net profits over $1 billion. Canadians know that these record-setting profits are due to big companies taking every penny from regular people that they can. Supporting this motion will show that this government is ready to stand up for Canadians who elected them instead of just wealthy stockholders. For months now, we've seen Liberal and Conservatives try to score political points around who is to blame for the rising cost of living in Canada. But neither really understand the challenges that everyday people are facing and just how out of reach life is becoming for regular people. In some parts of British Columbia, we've recently seen rent explode by almost 20% in the last 6 months alone. The price of the average home in Nanaimo, in my riding, recently rose above $1 million. These prices are absurd and out of reach for seniors on fixed income or new families looking to buy their first home. They're a byproduct of investors and private equity firms buying up homes, reducing supply, and then driving up prices. Shamefully, while Canadians continue to struggle to find homes, they do not have any way to see who they are competing with when trying to do so, due to Canada's weak public beneficial ownership registry laws. That's why our motion today also calls for the government to get serious about beneficial ownership registry. Canada's weak disclosure laws allow for an estimated $130 billion to be laundered through Canadian corporations each year, and the real estate market is a huge part of this illegal activity. In British Columbia, the provincial NDP has moved forward with a publicly accessible beneficial ownership registry, but they can't do it alone. Unfortunately, this government has barely begun to scratch the surface. At the rate we're headed, we won't see anything to curb money laundering and tax evasion until at least 2025. One thing that continues to be true prior to the pandemic and remains the same today is that it is not the workers or those living in the communities who are benefiting from billions in corporate profits. Instead, it is the wealthy corporate stockholders or shareholders. It is time to start holding these large corporations to account by paying their fair share and putting it back where it belongs in our communities. One of the truly remarkable things about our community in Nanaimo Ladysmith is the strength of our small and medium-sized businesses. These are businesses that have made our region their home and want to see it thrive. They are invested. Like everyday Canadians, these businesses are also feeling the pinch. Our local Chamber of Commerces are seeing businesses struggling to find employees because people are being priced out of the housing market. And they're struggling to make their business work with increased costs from high gas prices and banking fees. This motion is critical to allowing our local small and medium-sized businesses to operate on an even playing field. I want to close my thoughts by speaking to people like Jocelyn, who feel like they've been left behind, who feel like the system has been built to keep them down, while the wealthiest keep getting richer. We can build a system where people aren't left behind, where prescription medications, dental care, eye care, mental health services are all part of a public healthcare system, where we invest in programs to better support seniors living on GIS and CPP. And we ensure that everyone is able to afford a roof over their head and groceries for their families. A better, more compassionate system starts with this Liberal government getting serious about putting people before corporate greed. It's about them living up to their campaign promises and getting serious about taxing Canada's wealthiest corporations. And it is about making sure that Canadians can finally have more corporate accountability through a publicly available beneficial ownership registry. A more compassionate future is possible. We can build a future where everyone has the support they need. I hope every member in this House will help us move forward and that towards a better future and support this motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Jensen.